Number 10. Rock and roll. This is a team challenge where you and your random fellow teammates must get your ball to the goal in order to win. The bottom team will be eliminated, so you want to be in the top 2 here. With most team games, there is also the opportunity to prevent other players from scoring by trying to block their ball, pushing it backwards as opposed to forward down the ramp, or trying to trip them up during the obstacles that they're going to have to go through. You could even potentially act as a very tiny goalie here, but I wouldn't really recommend it. It's a really big goalie net. As with most team games, a little defense or interference can be good, but too much usually just slows your own team's progress down. Number 9. Royal fumble. This game is sort of like tag, but where you want to be it. It meaning you have the tail. Players spawn spaced out around an obstacle course and must locate the player with the tail, or if you start with the tail you need to avoid everyone else because the object is to have the tail at the end of the game. If while you are wearing the tail someone pulls on it, it will pass on to them and now they have the tail. Basically this round is similar to reverse tag or hot potato. Really the game truly begins when the timer is near its end, as whoever has the tail when the timer runs out wins. So all that really matters is if you manage to procure the tail in that last second. Number 8. Whirly-gig. This obstacle course features multiple different whirly-gigs, that is a bunch of propellers which spin and potentially smack your little dude and slow them down or knock them off the obstacle course. At the beginning of the round, when you look at an overview of the map, you will notice that not all these whirly-gigs are rotating yet, but don't worry, once you start they definitely will be. The nice thing is at least there are walls for some of this map which help to prevent you from falling off occasionally on the sides of the obstacle until you get near the end. Falling of course just sets you back in terms of your progress. The only way to be eliminated here permanently is simply not to be one of the qualifying few to cross that finish line. Number 7. Team tail grab. This is basically a team version of Royal Fumble. Here your team is trying to be the one with the most tails when the timer runs out. Once again, you don't want to be the ultimate losing team of the 3, otherwise you'll be disqualified. You need to be in the top 2 to move forward. Avoid other players who are without a tail as they can try to grab and steal yours. Basically find a tail if you don't have one and hold on to that for as long as you can, avoiding other players. I also just enjoy the obstacle course that you can run around in for this one. It has the smacking mallets which just always make me laugh whether it's me or someone else who is hit by them. This is why I'm not good at obstacle course games, I just spend most of my time laughing. Number 6. Tiptoe. This round seems pretty chaotic when you play through it, though there are some strategies you can use to propel yourself towards victory. Tiptoe is a game where you have to cross a platform of tiles that you'll notice light up when you step on them to signify that they are solid and safe. As soon as you move on that tile, if it doesn't light up, watch out as it will quickly evaporate, disappearing and leaving you to plummet below. After a time, the light on the safe tiles will also fade, meaning if you aren't right on someone's heels or if you have gone back to start, you might not know which tiles are really safe anymore. A winning strategy often seems to involve jumping, as even unsafe tiles remain solid for a very quick second before they disappear, giving you more time to and propulsion to hopefully land somewhere safe. And ideally keep doing that till you get to the finish line. Jump, jump, jump. Number 5. Dizzy Heights. In this obstacle course you aim to qualify by crossing the finish line first, avoiding lots of rolling balls that are coming at you while moving and sometimes jumping along spinning discs or tracks. The most anxiety inducing part for me, which also oddly enough happens to be the part I consider to be the most fun, is when you run up the straight while giant balls are sort of shot out of cannons at you and Indiana Jones style roll your way. Except instead of retreating you have to continue to run towards them while moving from lane to dodge those oncoming boulders. There are also some sneaky gaps once you get near the top of this obstacle course that make it super challenging the first time around, as they're not really easily visible and therefore unexpected, leaving you to usually fall in between those gaps. Number 4. Hexagon. This game is similar to the Tiptoe obstacle course, but instead of squares you're moving around on hexagons. But as the name implies, these hexagons will be hexagon shortly after you step onto them. Like Tiptoe, a winning strategy often seems to involve jumping to help conserve the tiles you can step on, allowing you to last longer on one level before plummeting down onto the next one. There are only so many levels, about 9 I believe, before you are completely out of safety nets, i.e. hex levels, and you will just simply plummet to your doom / your disqualification. Number 3, Egg Scramble. Egg Scramble is one of the available games in the team round. In this round, your team will try to grab the most eggs from the center pile and put them in your basket. You have until the time runs out. You can also run interference by reaching into other teams' baskets, grabbing their eggs that they have scored, and removing them to lower their number. This is a minigame that feels very familiar, and I've definitely played it in other compendium games that are composed of smaller minigames like Fall Guys, but it still is a style of minigame that I usually enjoy, so I really like this one. Fans of Egg Scramble might also enjoy the golden hatchling outfit, which you'll notice allows your bean to appear as though it is one of the hatchlings of these eggs that you are attempting to score within this round. Number 2, Roll Out. It's basically the wooden log game? Or is it like an actual physical sports event? I don't know. Do people actually roll on logs in water? Is that a thing? I think that's a thing. Might just be a Canadian thing. I don't know. Anyways, the premise is you're on segments of a rolling cylinder and you want to avoid sliding or falling off the cylinder by staying on top. Now, these segments will rotate in various and alternating directions. There are also gaps in the cylinders that you can fall through, and obstacles on other portions that will rotate upwards towards you, and you'll be forced to navigate those. The whole object is to stay on as long as you can, and ideally as long as you need to qualify or finish this round. Once you fall, unlike other obstacle courses, you will become disqualified if you are not in the bottom number specified. Add in all the other opponents that are bumping into you and shoving you, and this one can get pretty challenging. But the more challenging things are, the more fun they are. Isn't that right? Maybe not for everybody, but for me it is. Number 1, Hit Parade. This is another fun obstacle course. I like this one a lot because of all the slippery goo, or slippery smoke. Not really sure what we call that stuff, but it's basically a slippery substance that makes it hard for you to move properly as you inevitably slide around. And that's what awaits you at the finish line, but it's also possible for you to go sliding around a lot earlier on in this course if you fall off what I like to refer to as the hot dog poles, which are one of the first obstacles. They're basically small poles that you have to jump across that are akin to trying to wobble across a thin, curved at the edges plank. Hot dog planks, if you will. If you fall off these hot dog planks, the slippery purple substance awaits you in a pit below, and you must climb out of that to continue on in this obstacle course.
Number 10, the Quitter. Easily the most common type of Fall Guys players out there, mostly because these players aren't exclusive to just this game. There are two major subclasses of this kind of player out there: the Rage Quitter and the Preemptive Quitter. The Rage Quitter is exactly what it sounds like. They just get far too frustrated with the game, which is incredibly easy to do when it comes to Fall Guys, and they quit the game either because they're falling behind and have absolutely no chance of winning, or because they royally messed up and it's going to prevent them from qualifying. And the Preemptive Quitter, on the other hand, doesn't even attempt to play around. They know they're going to have no chance at winning. So as soon as they see a game mode they don't like, they drop out and get right back in the queue for another session with some new players. Number 9, the Fruit Forgetter. I will say I pride myself in my ability to remember things. Matching games are definitely in my wheelhouse, but I can understand why some of you out there have some trouble with it. In Perfect Match, the goal is to memorize the icons on the tiles you're standing on within the time limit given you, and then to match the icon on the screen to avoid the slime. Put simply, the Fruit Forgetter is someone who really struggles with these types of games. This is usually what runs through their head. So it's orange, grape, apple, banana. Orange, grape, apple, banana. Apple, or wait, oh god, no, I lost it. And now I'm in the slime. Great, who decided to put a mind game in a jumping game? Now it is a tough game mode, guys, I understand. You will get there one day, I promise, I know it. Number 8, the Fashionista. You can probably guess why this player type is dubbed the Fashionista, but I'll give you a little explanation anyways. Putting the simplest terms, the Fashionista is a Fall Guys player who cares more about the aesthetics of their character as opposed to, you know, the entire game. They tend to spend more time in the cosmetic screen than in actual matches, taking the time to perfectly plan out outfits for their character. This type has also been referred to as a jelly bean, and let me explain why. In 1920s America, a jelly bean was a layabout who dressed fancy but didn't actually offer anything to the world. Now I will say that is a bit of an extreme way to categorize these players because everyone is allowed to enjoy games in their own way. I'll be the first to admit that in most games I play, I generally go for what looks most aesthetically pleasing. But I can see why those comparisons have been drawn, since there's no real benefit to customization in the specific game, other than, I don't know, somewhat differentiating yourself from the other players. Number 7, the Physicist. Named pretty much entirely based on sarcasm, the Physicist is a type of player that you'll see during the Seesaw qualifying round. If you're not familiar with this game mode, it's basically a race to the finish that supports anywhere between 40 to 60 players, and you have to run and balance across rows of seesaws to reach the finish line in order to qualify. Now, I say the physicists is so sarcastically named because they are among the boldest of Fall Guys players who love to test the limits of the seesaws. For example, imagine you're heading towards a seesaw with, say, 4 or 5 on one side. A normal player would attempt to either, I don't know, jump on another seesaw, or just go on the opposite side of the other players to try and balance it out of it, right? Well, a physicist player throws all caution to the wind and jumps right into the crowd, tilting the seesaw even more, risking losing it all just to see what happens. Honestly, I say, as long as I'm on a separate seesaw, they can go for it all they want. Number 6, the grabber. Easily one of the most annoying Fall Guy player types out there that everyone has come into contact with at least once. We all know the ones, those guys who make it all the way to the end zone, generally in seesaw, who stand there and guard the goal and grab onto other players, preventing them from making it in. It's so frustrating and honestly very unnecessary because there is absolutely no benefit in doing so. There's no achievement for playing Red Rover with the other players. The closest thing would be, I don't know, Fall Bay, which requires you to just share a hug with a Fall Guy, but that's it. Upon looking for an actual reason why people do this, I stumbled across an answer that kind of explains it. Apparently they do this to whittle down the top players in the early stages, so they stand a better chance of winning in the long run. Honestly, all I have to say is they don't hand out crowns and wins for messing around with other players, gamers, so play nice and play fair. Number 5, the cuddler. Similar to the grabber, the cuddler takes it up just a little bit of a notch as both players grab onto each other and hold each other in a nice little embrace. It reminds me of clinching in sports, which actually serves a huge purpose because it disrupts your opponent's rhythm and puts the control of the situation in your hands, because you're catching them off guard. In Fall Guys, this tactic can be used pretty effectively as it can either break your opponent's stride, causing them to falter a bit, or it can pop an egg out of their hands and egg scramble and give your teammates the chance to snatch it up and secure a win for your team. However, I, alongside many others on the internet, like to think that players are doing this just because they're really missing that physical intimacy during this pandemic and are turning to virtual hugs with their fellow Fall Guys players. Number 4, the gladiator. Probably the most ruthless type of player that you'll encounter in Fall Guys is the gladiator. Now, if you're not familiar with what a gladiator is, let me tell you. In ancient Rome, a gladiator was a person who was generally armed with a weapon that was compelled to fight to the death in public arenas against another person or wild animal purely for the entertainment of it. Alright, so now that you've had your history lessons, let's talk about the gladiator Fall Guys players, who just straight up do not care about winning whatsoever and really only play to mess around and defeat other players. That's it. All they want to do is feel the glory of grabbing onto you and throwing you into the goo. Maybe gladiators isn't the best term? I don't know. If you've got a better name for this type of player, let me know in the comments below. Number 3, the Super Mario. Appearing pretty much exclusively in the final round known as Hexagon, where to win all you have to do is be the last player standing, comes the Super Mario player. If you haven't seen Hexagon, what happens is once you touch a platform, it disappears, so the goal is to always be on the move so you don't fall down to the next level, as there are a finite amount of levels before the goo. What the Super Mario player does is they strategically jump from platform to space them out, making them last much longer than normal. It's kind of like playing Mario and Snake at the same time in a way because it's a lot of jumping and planning. It requires a decent amount of concentration and brain power to not mess it up, so kudos to the gamers who are able to actually pull it off and win. I will say though, as someone who doesn't use that method, it can be really annoying to play against someone who does, because they can totally blindside you and disrupt your flow, making you fall to the lower levels. We get it. You're good at jumping. Great. Number 2, the Sisyphus. This is a type of Fall Guy player that you'll see specifically in the rock and roll game where you have to work together as a team to push a ball through a slight obstacle course in order to get it to the finish line. Now, if you're not familiar with the Greek myth of Sisyphus because you're not a big old mythology nerd like me, let me give you the TLDR. Basically, he was punished for his craftiness and deceitfulness by being forced to roll an immense boulder up a hill, only for it to roll down every time it was close to the top, forcing him to repeat this action forever and ever. In playing this game, you've probably seen that many players leave the ball behind and get on the defense, doing their best to hold up and block other teams from reaching the goal. It's a great tactic. However, if no one remembers to stick with the ball on the course, there's no way to actually get back up to it, meaning these players are trying to hold up an enemy victory that they can't actually prevent. Selfishness never pays off, kids. And number 1, the lemming. Don't know what a lemming is? No worries. Well, they are a small rodent that live in or around the Arctic that are known for one specific thing and one specific thing only. There is a myth surrounding lemmings that states every few years, when they feel that their population is getting far too big, a big group of them will get a running start and just jump off of a cliff. Look it up, I swear I'm not making it up. In actuality, this isn't true, but the word lemming is now used to describe someone that follows someone or something blindly. In terms of Fall Guys, the lemming player types are often the ones you'll see constantly struggling to jump over gaps. They're basically the polar opposite of the Super Mario player. This is usually seen in the Dizzy Heights round, and I feel like we all know exactly the spot I'm talking about too. You know that blind little gap that everyone seems to forget about at the top of that blue ramp? It's super funny to watch these kind of players, but it is not a fun playstyle. Trust me.
Number 10, Crash Test Dummy. One skin that I think is just too appropriate for us to not talk about is the Crash Test Dummy skin. This one allows your Bean Dude to be fully protected from the dangerous world of Fall Guys, where, you guessed it, you'll likely be falling a lot. Usually to your doom. Well, only sort of at least, as you always get to usually go back to start and try again in a level. Although, every round is a bit of an elimination round. Still, I bet this padding comes in handy when your bean hits what I imagine to be the ground far, far below you. It's probably way down there. Number 9, Wizard. You're a wizard, Fall Guy. This outfit appears to come in 2 colors for those lucky and magically talented enough to have it, blue or pink. Or maybe that's purple, depending on how you see color. And this skin also gives your little Fall Guy a beard, little wizard beard. I wonder if it also helps you to magically win. Now that would be something. The wizard skin appears to be inspired by such famous literary and cinematic wizards as Lord of the Rings' Gandalf and Harry Potter's Professor Dumbledore. I want to be a wizard. I want to wear a cool sweet beard. Number 8, Hot Dog. While there is tons of fun fast food for you to dress up as, there is also the savory and delicious hot dog costume as well. This costume, like many, comes in 2 parts, so there is a bottom and top half that you need to unlock in order to be fully suited up as a little hot dog guy. It of course comes with a bun as well to keep your hot dog self properly insulated and protected from the outside world. Number 7, Ecto Pirate. As cool as wizards are, I had to also acknowledge the ever popular Ecto Pirate skin in the game. What's more, as much as I love the colors of this costume, I also love when you get to the team level in the game, and if you're wearing the pirate suit it becomes kind of all one color motif depending on which team you're on, yellow, red, or blue. I personally just really love this look as all red as well. I've seen it as all red in playthroughs and I just think it looks super cool. I hope we get to see more alternate versions of this costume with different coloring as time goes on, all with their own variation on maybe that glowing Ecto hook and the highlights that we have on that costume. What about like a neon blue Ecto or perhaps a neon pink Ecto? Fingers crossed. Ecto Pirate, by the way, is a buyable skin that you can find in the Collector Pack DLC. So if you get that Collector Pack, you can be an Ecto Pirate too. Yay! Number 6, Chicken. There are a couple different chicken themed costumes, but this time around we are just talking about the classic full chicken suit. What can I say about this look other than it is just that clucking classic? And that is what makes it so great. For some reason the way your Bean Dude also moves around in Fall Guys just adds to this look as well. Kinda like teeter around like this. I love how your character also just kinda like wobbles, teeters around, like it's a little toddler almost, or maybe an old man with a gut, I'm not sure which. Those things actually both move the same when you think about it. What we need next is Boo's monster suit from Monster Inc. Just more full body sort of mascot costumes in general. I love it. Number 5, T-Rex. There are a few different dinosaur skins in Fall Guys, and to be real, all of them are pretty great. But of course, there is only one that can be considered the king. And that, my friends, is the T-Rex skin. Just look at this costume's face. Look at its grumpy little face. The expression on the top and the little T-Rex feetsies on the bottom are what really make this skin for me. This one was available to unlock in the shop using Kudos a while ago, so if you are a fan, maybe just keep an eye on what is available in that shop, as there are new items and outfits being added daily. Number 4, Alex Vance from Half-Life. Being that Steam is owned and run by Valve, it shouldn't surprise anyone that some Half-Life inspired skins have made their way into Fall Guys, which is only available to play on Steam currently and on PlayStation. Alex Vance is one of the principal characters from Half-Life 2 and is the main character in Valve's new VR game Half-Life Alyx. Her skin was a featured Steam exclusive, and Fall Guys promo art for the look shows the Bean model wearing it positioned in Alex's signature lean pose. So cute! Number 3, Mecha Cat. This is a skin that I've yet to see anyone really play with in game, but I have seen it mentioned in other places, which means it's either not out yet or it's extremely rare. It's basically a cat sort of hat with some kind of mech suit or astronaut suit on. At this point I'm calling it a Mecha Cat. Not sure what the bottom will look like yet because I haven't seen that, but I just love the premise of a badass cat with mechanical parts just running around. You go, little mech cat. I want to be a mech cat. Number 2, Fries. Of course, you can never go wrong with a classic look like this sweet, sweet Fries costume, which comes in the fast food pack. snack. I personally just really love fries, as I think many people do, which is what makes this skin one of the most popular and one of the biggest winners for me. I like to think you could celebrate your victory if you were wearing your fries skin by getting some fries afterward. Just don't be salty if you lose. Number 1. Gordon Freeman Head Crab variant from Half-Life. This skin was only available if you pre-ordered the game Fall Guys. Did you pre-order it? Which is also kind of awesome, and it's kind of sad because I personally did not pre-order this game, and I definitely feel like I missed out because of this sweet skin. But for those who did pre-order it, it's a pretty great and epic skin reward. Gordon Freeman is the main character of the Half-Life series. Like I said earlier, it should be no surprise that we have Half-Life skins in Fall Guys, considering it's such a big game on Steam right now, and Steam is owned and operated by Valve, who developed Half-Life. This variant also allows fans of the series to revisit the terrifying creature known as the Head Crab from the franchise. However, the Fall Guys version of Head Crab is much cuter and more inviting. It's actually a head crab you'd want to wear rather than smash with a crowbar.